My HOA president fined me $300 because of a garden gnome. She told me in front of 40 of my neighbors to go read the rules, so I did, all 112 pages. 6 months later, she stood in front of the entire neighborhood while her reign collapsed in a single vote. This is the whole story, including the part about the HOA bank account that I've never told anywhere else. Some background: I've lived in Maple Ridge for 8 years. It's a normal suburban neighborhood, quiet streets, block parties, 180 homes. For most of my time here, the HOA president was a retired teacher named Harold, who ran the association the way you'd hope. Somebody's fence blew over, Harold organized help. Somebody's trash can sat out too long, Harold knocked on the door and chatted. In 8 years I never heard of a single fine. Then Harold moved to Florida to be near his grandkids. The presidency went up for election and exactly one person ran, Diane. She won with 11 votes out of 180 households because nobody else even voted. Remember that number. 11 people put her in power. It took 119 to take it away. Within 3 months, Diane turned our neighborhood into a police state with flower beds. She did property walks with a camera. She kept a violation log. The letters started raining down on the whole street. The veteran 2 doors down, a man in his 70s who flies his flag every single day, got a letter about his flagpole. The young couple across from me got one calling their kids' place at an unapproved recreational structure. The family on the corner got cited over a wheelchair ramp, a ramp for their son and me. 3 letters in 1 month. Letter 1 said my garden gnome, which had stood in the same flower bed for 8 years, was unapproved lawn ornamentation. Letter 2 said my mailbox was the wrong shade of blue, not the wrong color, the wrong shade. Letter 3 came with printed photos of my lawn and a ruler in frame, claiming my grass exceeded 4 inches. She had measured my grass while I was at work. I ignored the gnome letter because it was obviously insane. That was my mistake. Ignoring Diane was feeding her. The fine compounded, $25.50, then daily penalties until it hit $300 for a gnome. So I went to the monthly meeting to handle it like an adult. I stood up, calmly explained the gnome's spotless 8-year record, and asked for the fine to be waived. Diane looked at me over her reading glasses in front of 40 neighbors and said the sentence that ended her career. The rules are the rules. If you had ever bothered to read the covenants, you would know that. Next item. Here's what Diane didn't know about me. I'm a contracts analyst. Reading dense, boring documents is literally my profession. She had just assigned me homework in my own specialty, in public with attitude. I went home, poured a coffee, and downloaded all 112 pages of the Maple Ridge covenants. I read them twice over the course of a week. Most of it was as boring as expected. Paint palettes, parking rules, holiday decoration windows. But on page 47, section 9.2, I found the sentence that made me laugh alone in my kitchen at 11 at night. Any exterior addition or structural modification requires prior written approval from the architectural committee, and any unapproved structure is subject to removal at the owner's expense. Why is that funny? Because Diane had built a brand new sunroom on the back of her house the previous summer, and a storage shed, and replaced her fence with one a full foot taller than the neighborhood standard. I knew because she'd bragged about the sunroom at the block party while handing out zucchini bread, and the covenants had one more gift for me. Section 12. Any homeowner has the right to inspect the association's records within 14 days of a written request. I mailed my records request the next morning. Certified mail. Diane stalled immediately. First, the records were being reorganized, then my request supposedly needed board approval. So I sent a second letter quoting the exact state statute that makes record inspection a legal right, and mentioned politely that denying it creates personal liability. The records appeared 11 days later. I spent a Saturday in the clubhouse with 4 boxes of files. I went through every architectural application and approval from the past 5 years and built a spreadsheet because of course I did. The veteran's flagpole, no approval on file, fined anyway. The playset, no approval, fined. My gnome, fined, and then Diane's property. Sunroom, no application, no approval, nothing. Shed, nothing. Fence, nothing. The woman running a violation regime over wind chimes had 3 unapproved structures of her own, in direct violation of the exact section she loved to quote. Now I could have just reported her and gotten her fined, but a fine gets paid and forgotten and the letter machine would keep running. I wanted the system fixed. Back to the covenants, section 15. A special meeting of the association, including a recall vote of any board member, can be called by petition of 20% of homeowners. 180 homes meant 36 signatures. I started with the veteran. He signed before I finished my second sentence and then walked me to 4 other houses personally. The playset couple signed, the basketball hoop guy signed, the wind chime lady Maria signed and then asked for extra petition sheets so she could work her own street. The wheelchair ramp family signed at their kitchen table and thanked me until I was embarrassed. 2 weekends later, I had 61 signatures, almost double what I needed. Deanne, of course, found out you can't knock on 60 doors quietly. Halfway through weekend 2, a new letter landed in my mailbox, hand-delivered this time. It said my petition activity constituted harassment of a board member and that I could face legal action. I read it twice, smiled, and added it to the folder, because threatening a homeowner for exercising a right spelled out in Section 15 was not the power move she thought it was. A friend of mine who practices real estate law wrote a 2-line response on his firm's letterhead. She never mentioned the word harassment again. The special meeting landed on a Tuesday night. Word had spread and the clubhouse was packed past capacity. People brought folding chairs from their garages. Diane walked in with her clipboard and a plate of cookies, chin high, convinced the meeting was about the landscaping budget. Nobody had told her. The petition only legally required notice of the meeting, not a preview of the agenda, and our acting chair followed the letter of the rules. Somewhere, I like to think, page 47 smiled. I sat in the front row with my folder. When the chair opened the floor, I stood up and said, before we vote, there is something everyone here needs to see. And I kept it calm because calm is lethal. Photo 1, the sunroom. Photo 2, the shed. Photo 3, the fence with a tape measure and frame. Then page 47 read out loud slowly. Then the records. There's no application on file for any of these. I checked twice. The room didn't gasp, it rumbled. Someone in the back laughed. Diane shot up and said the funniest possible thing. That's different. She never explained how. Then the veteran stood, letter in hand, and read it out loud. Then the Ramp family read theirs. One by one, neighbors quoted her own favorite section back into the room. Somebody called out, "The rules are the rules," and I watched the sentence she used on me come back around like a boomerang with a grudge. The recall vote was 119 to 9. She was out before her cookies got cold. Update 1. Maria, the wind chime lady, was elected president the same night. Her first motion put every fine from the past year under review, and nearly all were refunded, including my $300. The gnome went back out the next morning. The veteran walked over, shook my hand, and planted a tiny American flag in the gnome's fist. It's still there. Update 2, the part I've never told anywhere else. Maria ordered a full financial audit. The audit found that the HOA's new landscaping contract, approved solo by Diane, had gone to her brother-in-law at nearly double the old rate, $23,000 over 2 years. No competitive bids, which our covenants require for any contract over $5,000. The association's lawyer sent one letter. The contract was canceled, and Diane's family quietly repaid a settlement rather than face a lawsuit with her name on it. That number never made the neighborhood newsletter. You're hearing it here. Update 3. Diane received exactly the choice she'd given everyone else: retroactive applications and full compliance, or removal at her own expense. Her fence came down a foot. The shed got an application. And the sunroom, it turned out, had also skipped a county permit entirely, which cost her 5 figures to fix and legalize. Every penny of that was self-inflicted, and the ending she earned. She listed her house that spring, told people the neighborhood had become hostile, and moved to a gated community across town, with a stricter HOA. I hope sincerely that she reads their covenants. As for me, I got a fruit basket from the Ramp family, an unrequested permanent seat on the architectural committee, and the most legally protected garden gnome in the state. So, be honest, would you have paid the $300 or read all 112 pages? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one. And if something like this happened in your neighborhood, drop the story below. It might be the next one I tell. See you in the next video.